Hi and welcome. Today we're going to be going through different types of bones in terms of their shapes. The skeletal system can be quite overwhelming because there are just so many different bones. But luckily we can categorize them based on something as simple as their shape. We can find patterns based on this as well. There are four key types of bone shapes: long, short, flat, and irregular. And these naming conventions are actually very telltale of what bones they describe. So, for example, long bones. We'll start there. Long bones are long, which basically means that they're longer than they are wide. So they've got greater length as compared to their width. Um, and this is because they need to bear a lot of weight. So this structure enables this. As you can see here, I've got an example of the humerus. The humerus is found in the arm. And as you can tell, the diaphysis, so the central aspect of this bone, is a lot longer than its width. Sorry, a lot greater than its width. Therefore, we can categorize it as a long bone. Another example is the femur found in the lower limb, and that has to bear a lot of weight. Moving on, let's talk about short bones. Short bones, again, have a very obvious name, and they're quite short. This means that they have a relatively equal length and width. They kind of look like a square. My favorite example are the carpal bones in our wrist, and as you can see, they look like cubes that have relatively equal length and width. When we compare that to the long bone, we can clearly see a difference in their structure. The role of short bones is typically to provide stability and support, which we know in the wrists. We do have a lot of stability and support. So our short bones are doing their job appropriately there. Next up is the flat bone. The flat bone, again, as the name suggests, is very thin, but it's also slightly curved. And one of my favorite examples is in the skull. Our cranial bones are flat bones, and what's underneath these cranial bones? The brain. So a lot of flat bones actually have a protective role. We've got two compact sheets of bone, and in between them is spongy bone. And this is the general composition of a flat bone. So we've got two sheets of thin compact bone, and between them, spongy bone. Finally, if we can't categorize a bone into any of those categories because they've got a strange composition or a strange shape, then we call them irregular bones. And one of the most obvious examples of this is the vertebral bones. So the vertebral bone has a vertebral body that's kind of circular, but then it's also got a vertebral arch. It's got processes, the spinous process, the transverse processes, the articular processes, and their facets. So it's quite strange. It kind of looks like a V, an upside down V. You can't really say that it's flat, it's short, or it's long. It just doesn't fit into any of them. So it will be an irregular bone. To test our new knowledge, let's have a look at these three bones and try to put them into one of the classes that we just spoke about. Let's start off with the sternum. The sternum is located right here, and its role is quite protective because if you think about it, it's located right here with between the rib cage. So got the rib cage articulating with it. It's also articulating with the clavicle. So underneath this, there's a lot of viscera, your lungs, your heart. It's got a lot to protect. So that's the first point. The second point is if we look at the sternum from a side-on view, so if we look at this guy from the side, we can see that the sternum is quite thin. Would have a compact bone on the outside edge, and then would have spongy bone in between, but still very thin. And it's not necessarily, I mean, it is longer than it is wide, but the key point here is that it's very flat, very thin. So based on the fact that it's protective and that it's flat, we can say that the sternum is a flat bone, which it is. Alrighty. Next up, we've got the humerus, the ulna, and the radius. 3 bones found in the upper limb. The humerus is found in the arm, and the radius and ulna are found in the forearm. The humerus, ulna, and the radius are longer than they are wide, as you can see here. They're not wide at all, actually, if you really look at them. I mean, the humerus kind of has a bit of width on its diaphysis point, but not really. It's significantly longer than they are wide. And given this, we can categorize the humerus, ulna, and the radius as long bones. They're not flat, so we can't say they're flat bones. Finally, let's have a look at the sacrum. The sacrum is right here. It's at the very end of your vertebral column. So, it's actually a section of your vertebral column. We've got our our cervical, thoracic, lumbar region, sacrum, sacral region, and then obviously our okay, I'm not even gonna try to say it. I can't pronounce it. So the sacrum is within one of the regions in the vertebral column. It's got 5 fused bones. So it doesn't have an intervertebral disc, but it's still a vertebral bone. And if you remember earlier, I said that vertebral bones are irregular, and the sacrum, despite being fused, also has an odd shape. I mean, I can't really categorize this as flat. I can't categorize it as long, short. I mean, it doesn't fit any of those categories. So we're going to put the sacrum in the irregular category. I hope that made sense and you benefited from this video. Good luck.